this, I was very happy and willing to do this. So I'm going to talk about protocol, the time management. Great, thanks for that introduction. So I won't spend too much time on there. My goal today is to share with you my personal experience. So the slides are going to be mostly a guide towards the conversation because it is very important to be able to manage your time accordingly so you can be more efficient in life in general, as a student, as a professional, and even beyond that. So this is a very important topic, and I'm glad that you guys have a long list of very critical topics for your development and for your benefit. And with that, I'm going to go to my next slide, which is really the agenda for my talk, or the outline of my talk. I will introduce the topic more formally so that we all focus on the topic of time management today. Then I will lead into the time management itself and what does it mean and why it's important. What is effective time management? And so what are some of the key items that you have to keep in mind if you want to be really good at managing your time. And then, of course, you guys are and ladies are in the student chapter. And so there's different levels of this topic. This topic can be applicable to almost all facets of life. I will give you examples on how the topic applies to you as a student at the university level. And then I'll also show you how these time management skills and concepts apply to being a professional. Once you graduate, you will still need time management to be able to excel in your professional job. And then for those of you who are SPE members now and going to continue to be SPE members, we hope, you will still need time management to manage your, we call it extracurricular activities, or your volunteering involvement with SPE and other associations. So as you can see, time management is important all the way throughout your life. You've probably been doing time management since you were little and you didn't realize it, and maybe you did, but now you see how more and more important it is for you to focus on it, try to be as good as you can at it so that you can maximize your activities and maximize your time. And then I have some closing remarks. This is more where I share advice and thoughts and things that you should keep in mind so that you can effectively manage your time down the road. If at any point you can't hear me clearly, or I'm talking too fast, or you have concerns, please either reach out to the co-host and let them know so you can get my attention. If I drop off, if you can't hear me or any issues with Zoom, just let me know so I can slow down and repeat myself if I need to. Okay. And then at the end, if I have time, probably a few minutes for questions, if that's allowed, in case you have something you want me to clarify or you want me to be more specific about it. So that's the agenda today, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how we're going to step through it. So have you, ladies and gentlemen, heard these expressions before? Have you heard someone say, I don't have time, I'm very busy, or I have too much to do and very little time, I am overwhelmed, I just can't manage everything that's going on in my life, everything that's going on in school, everything that's going on in just my personal day to day? Have you heard anybody say, I cannot find time to do everything? It's just so much work, so much homework, so much exercise, so much things that I need to do at home and school and in really all facets of my life. Have you heard people say this? Have you heard people say that I wish I had more time? Well, all these expressions, I hope that in the audience, you guys have heard this expression before, and ladies, because these expressions are all surround around the time management and the inability to have extra time in a day. The days are very fixed. The time that we have is fixed every day in life. And so what we can do is really just maximize the time that we have. We all wish we can buy time and borrow time, but that only happens in science fiction or movies. In reality, we do know we have the limited time. We just try to maximize it to make the most out of it. So I just want to draw your attention that when you have these thoughts, it's because, again, time is important. That's why everybody talks about time management. Why don't we have more time? Why do I feel overwhelmed? What do I feel like I need more and more time and I want to do more things? We all have a long list of things we want to do in life, in school, and in our personal world. But then we know that we can't do it all, right? We also have limited time on this earth. We have limited time in a daily basis. And so this is why time management is very important. And so before we go deep into time management concepts, we're just going to start from the very basic definition of time management that you all very well know by now, but I just want to make sure we all come to the same level of understanding of what we're talking about. So by definition, time management is the practice of using the time that you have available in a useful and effective way, especially at work, on school, or in your daily activities. That's what time management is. And if you don't do it effectively, then it's to your own detriment because you feel like you don't have enough time and you're wasting a lot of time doing maybe things that are not advancing you, they're not moving you forward. And then in general, you feel that in life you're falling behind your peers, you're falling behind your students. It could be as simple as you not managing time effectively. So this is really key, very important, and hope that I can share some thoughts today that you can take away one or two things of my presentation. I will feel like I've done my part to share with you the importance of time management and why is it that you need to apply yourself to try to be as good as you can on time management as possible so that you can have a successful and fulfilling life and career. So again, let me re-emphasize why it's important topic and why it's critical. One, because you want to maximize it, right? If we all have the same limited time every day, the people who are doing the better job at maximizing that time and being able to get the most out of the limited time that we have, they will be able to be more successful, happier overall, more fulfilling, and so on. So you want to maximize it, and by maximizing it means you have to do certain choices and decisions along the way to be able to benefit from that maximization. If you don't manage your time effectively, your satisfaction in general in life could be reduced. You may feel like you're just not able to keep up with your day. You just end up being late to things. You're late to school. You're late to meetings. You're late just because you're just not managing properly, or you do have extraneous circumstances that prevent you from being able to manage effectively. So that's the satisfaction will come from being organized in your life, organized in your thoughts, and being able to successfully navigate some of the challenges that life gives all of us. And then you will feel more accomplished because imagine this: if you can manage it so effectively that you can do unlimited things, that's a ideal state. Then you can accomplish more. You can run marathons, you can do sports, you can do school, you can do so many more things if you are organized in a way that that allows you to do so. So you feel more accomplished. You will be more accomplished. You can imagine in school if you manage time effectively, you feel like you have more time to study and you can do better grades, and that leads to better success in the future. You also have more confidence. The people who manage their time effectively, they never feel like they're rushed or they feel like they are nervous or uncertain about things. It feels like they have everything under control. Maybe internally they are managing the stress, but they have the confidence that they have their lives organized in a way that allow them to meet all their commitments throughout the day. You also, yes, be able to manage more things. And, I mentioned that before. You feel like you can do everything. If you can be good at managing time, you can do anything. You can do a million things throughout the day as long as you really organize your thoughts around that topic. And the next one is better balance in life. And we're going to talk about the different levels of your life as you go from school age to university age to professional and to beyond professional. You will see that you will need a certain level of balance along the way so that you can be more happy, successful, and fulfilled. So that balance in life is very critical for your time management process, because without trying to achieve that balance is what dictates how you manage your time, right? So what's important to you first comes first, and then on top of that, then you make choices about what you are willing and able to do in any given day. So this is why it's important. There's many more reasons why time management is important, but I just wanted to give you a few so that you can see that this topic is not just about, oh, well, I don't want to be late to school every day or late to class. That's just one aspect of it, but there's many dimensions of time management, from punctuality to being able to accomplish and complete your task, complete your homework, complete your exams, complete your commitments, do things that you want to do in life and enjoy that, do work and life and more things throughout the course of the day or the course of a year. So let me simplify with a small cartoon how the whole concept of time management, at least for me, this is just my personal experience. I'm sure there's many ways to think of this, but I thought I would share with you this little pictorial. So, our brains and our lives are busy, right? We always have a million things going on with us, whether in our thoughts, whether in our hopes and prayers and things that we want to accomplish. We as human beings, we are very complex individuals, so we have a lot going on all the time, whether it's physical, emotional, whether it's with the professional, with the university, with your family. You have tons of things in your head. So imagine these blocks in the slide. There are just a million things in your head, or thousands of things, whether they're activities, thoughts, ideas, things you want to do, accomplish, when, tomorrow, next year, your vacation plans. You have a lot of things in your head. We all do. And as students, you do have this too. And everyone from the moment you were born all the way up, we have thoughts and we have things in our head. So I put this is our brain. Our brain is scattered with ideas and thoughts and tasks and activities and deadlines and things. And if you notice, each box has a number to it, which means we relatively rank these things in our head. What's more important? Is it yellow? Is it blue? Is it light blue? What comes first? Is it number one, number two, here, three, four? You have all these thoughts in mind that you're trying to somehow sort it out in a way that makes sense, in a way that you can actually process it a little bit better. So take this picture, mental picture of your brain with a lot of things, a lot of numbers, a lot of chaos. As you see, boxes are not all they're all square, but they're not all perpendicular. Some of them are around and turned around, upside down. That's our brain. Our brain really is complex, but our brain is able to process all this. What does this have to do with time management? Well, in life, or in a given day, you have a ton of things in your head that you want to do and you want to accomplish. From the moment you wake up, you already have a long list of things that you want to do for that day, just for that day. And then the question is, can you fit all that in that one day? And if you can't, what will go into the next day? What will go into the following week? What will go into the following month? What will go into the following year? You have to make those decisions. But that's the concept of time management. How do you sort out all these thoughts and priorities in your head in a way that makes sense and in a way that you can actually execute this? Okay. So that's the picture of our brain. And then we'll move on to what the ideal state would look like. So keep in mind, each box is a thought, an activity. Think of it as a commitment, a deadline, something that has to be done, but it cannot all be done at one time, right? We can only do a few things at one time. So now think about this other cartoon. I took the boxes from the previous slide and I put them in a little bit of a sequence. This is called organization. You organize your thoughts, you organize your activities, you organize your deadlines, you organize your plans so that it could be better managed. When you hear time management, in my mind, this is almost what it means. You manage things so that you can put them in sequential order throughout your day, throughout your life, throughout your year, so that you can better execute through it. That doesn't mean you can accomplish it in a disorganized fashion, but it's more difficult and you have the risk of failing things because you're not organized, right? So let me explain what this order means. It's a little bit of a chart from two axes. On the x-axis, you have the time order going from left to right, meaning left is kind of today, and you go right tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So in terms of time, from zero to the future, from now to the future. In the y-axis, you have priority, right? So even things in the same day or in the same minute have different priority. So for example, say today, the blue boxes are the priority relative to the light blue boxes and relative to the orange boxes. Because I prioritize the light blue, it's more important to me in terms of time comes first than the other boxes. And in terms of priority, there's always a hierarchy on things that you can do. So if you notice, now sorted out from number 1, 2, 3, meaning the one at the top has the highest priority for me in that sequence. The one in the middle is the number 2 priority, and the one at the bottom is number 3 priority for that time frame. So if that time frame is a 24-hour day, you can already see I already did a little bit of prioritization. I said dark blue comes first. The rest of the things in my brain that are just going in there and just competing for time and attention, I'm going to park them to the next time sequence. I'm not going to try to squeeze everything on day 1 or time 1 or time 0 because it's not possible, right? We have a million things to do. We just don't have that much time in each given day. So this is a way you can sort your thoughts, or sort your deadlines, sort your activities in an organized fashion so that you can better manage that. What happens if you don't do this mentally, or even some people are very good at noting these things on their personal calendars, on their phones, or on their notes and reminders? If you can't do some level of organization, what could happen is instead of doing the dark blue first, number 1, you may just randomly do number 5 on the orange box. And then you do that, you find out, well, I just did it, but you missed something very important. You did not do the highest priority task. And so it's great that you accomplished something that was on your brain, but you did not complete something that was critical. For example, say the box number 1, dark blue on the top, was a deadline. So you see where I'm going with this. If you don't complete that in that day, that means you missed that deadline. So it's great that you completed a task number 5 that was not the highest priority, wasn't the highest urgency one, but you missed a deadline, and that's not good. You miss a deadline for school, that's not a good thing. You miss a deadline for work, that's not a good thing. You miss a deadline where you were supposed to meet with a friend because you didn't prioritize that. That's not a good thing because your friend is now waiting for you. So you can see the consequences of not prioritizing your time or organizing your time in sequence. And this is very simple. You guys and ladies are probably very good at doing this already. You just do it naturally. Yeah, you don't think about it. You don't spend time thinking, let me see what in my brain is number 1, number 2, number 3. We just do this naturally because as humans, we tend to sort things out in our brain. Our brain is very powerful. But just to illustrate a concept, I'm letting you know that this is kind of how this thing could work, and that you can get more out of the day because now you prioritize the day 1, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and then I don't have to worry about the light blue because that's for day 2, and I don't have to worry about the orange because that's day 3, and definitely don't want to worry about number 4, number 5. Number 4, number 5 are lower priority and can be done in the next week, and so you organize yourself accordingly. And I'm spending time here because this is the essence of the time management process that you would master by the time you graduate from school, university. You are probably really good at this because you know when your finals are, you know when your homework is due. This is exactly what you're doing in your head and in your notes and in your calendars every single day. But this concept applies for life and applies for beyond university level. So I want you to keep this in mind, that while you have a lot going on, the best way to manage that is sort it out to your brain, sort it out to your notes, and then make a decision on what goes first. I could have put the light blue boxes first, but in my organization, I decided that the dark blue was first, light blue was second, and orange was third. And I decided anything that's not the top 3, that means it's not high priority, so I'm going to push it down in time. Number 4, number 5 is later. And if you notice, I even dropped number 4, number 5, orange, because I decided that's not even important to do or to worry about in these next 5 days. So I'm going to take that off my mind and I'm going to worry about it later. So I took 2 boxes out of the equation. So you can see that you can do that. You can defer things that are not very urgent, which is the x-axis, or they're not high priority, which is the y-axis. I hope this concept is clear, but if it's not, I'm happy to answer some questions later. I just wanted to make sure this illustrates it very well to you. From chaos, you have organization. With organization, you can have better management of your activities and better management of your time. So this is really the key, and I'm going to move on to the next slide to talk about some simple concepts of time management. We talked about the importance of organizing your thoughts, organizing your tasks and your activities so that you can quickly see what's more important and see the deadlines and see what happens if you miss number 1. What are the consequences? Is it okay that you don't show up to your finals? No. So that's going to move up in priority so that you can accomplish that and be successful versus putting, say, your soccer match ahead of your final, right? So that's where you're making decisions and you use your own experience and expertise to do that. So simple concepts of time management. Number 1, I mentioned before, time is limited, right? That's the one thing that we really can't change or we haven't figured out how to change, right? Each day has 24 hours. You have almost 8 to 10 hours or around that of sleep time. So you don't count on those because you have to sleep. Then the rest is really all you have. And most of that time you have, time to eat. You have other things that will take away time. So if you realize you really have a very limited time, awake time that you can do things. So that narrows down those 24 hours into probably a third of that time. So that's your constraint. You work on things given that you have that much time every day and you don't have more than that. So would you take a 24-hour task? That's tough because that means you are saying you're not going to sleep that day, which is not healthy, right? So your task shouldn't be 24 hours, should be manageable, hour, 2-hour task or 3-hour, 4-hour, whatever the project needs. But those are the constraints that you have to put in place to understand how you want to manage time. If I know I only have 8 hours a day to do something, then if something is going to take me 16 hours, I know that has to be done within 2 days. It can't be done in 1 day unless it's very, very urgent, and then I have to do something extraordinary to do it. So time is limited. We can't change that. We just have to manage that. And now, one key concept as well in life, as you will find, is that your responsibilities increase over time. You have more responsibilities now than you did when you were younger, than you did when you were a child, right? And you will have more responsibilities down in the future once you graduate and you start working, and even more responsibilities once you become a mid-career professional, and even more responsibilities when you become a senior professional. So the key is you learn time management now, it's going to serve you well the rest of your life. And so it's important to start getting used to making those decisions, tough decisions about what you want to do first and next, what you want to do today versus tomorrow, and why, because you're going to continue to do that the rest of your life. And that's what the second point here is. The third point is that, because over time with life come more responsibilities, you have less time to spend on things. And so you have to be more purposeful with your time. You have to be very selective of the things you want to do and how much time you spend with things. For example, maybe before college, you used to spend hours and hours watching TV, no problem, because that's what you like to do. There's nothing else that was competing with your time to watch your television. And you did that consistently, watching your soccer match, watching your shows and so on. But there was no conflict. Now, once you're in college, you realize, wait, I can't do that because I do have homework, I have finals, I have projects, I have SPE, I have this. So now all of a sudden, you might still watch your TV show and your game, but you won't be able to do it as long as you used to do. So that's how you start making some adjustments in your priorities. So time doesn't change 24 hours, but you start really maximizing every minute, every hour you have, because it's very, very important that you don't spend too much time on things that don't advance your time management. So watching 5 hours of TV a day maybe doesn't advance you as much as studying for your exams for that same amount of time. So now you have to decide, do you want to keep your leisure activities like before, or you want to move to the current state in your life, which means more studying and maybe less social activities, or at least a balance of those two. Um, so there's a lot more things that will compete for your time, and I'm leaving the specifics to the next few slides. I'm just giving you the generic concepts, but then I'm going to talk about this in terms of your current situation at school, university, and then as a professional. But you will find that more things are competing for your time. Now that suddenly you have this responsibility, now you have this other responsibility, now you have, you don't have as much help. Maybe your parents used to do certain things for you earlier when you were little, but now you have to do your own things. And so now you have more and more things to do, and it's not just, you're just not able to focus on one thing. And then with experience, as you get more and more experience, you find that time is more valuable. Even that 1 minute or 5 minutes of just rest, or just keep to yourself and have your own thoughts, will be very valuable to you, because you'll find out it's harder to come by. Those 5 minutes, you quickly have a million things you want to do. So time becomes more valuable as you get more and more experience. In the past, maybe 5 minutes, you just blink and they pass by. But as you get older, you find out that those 5 minutes are really valuable, just even to just reflect on your life, reflect on your family, reflect on your friendships is very, very important. And then the last one here is about well-being and your happiness. You should value that more and more. Know that people don't value their happiness, but sometimes they put that at the bottom of their priorities. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to focus on work. I'm going to focus on just study all the time. But then you have to understand that there's a toll to your personal, physical, and well-being. So you have to watch that. That's why I mentioned at the beginning that there's 24 hours in the day, but those 24 hours are not all 24 hours that you can use, because you have to sleep and rest, and that's important for your physical health. Because if you don't, then you get sick and then you really can't do anything, right? So you have to balance your personal well-being and then, of course, your happiness. If all you do is, let's an example, all you do is studying all the time, 24 hours, you have no friends, well, that's not probably a happy life either, right? So you have to be able to balance those things. So that's just some simple concepts I want to leave you with, so you understand why it's important, and then what happens as you progress in your life. Time management is still important, but you end up having more and more responsibilities, more and more things come into your life that you need to balance. This picture that I sent you or show you with all the boxes upside down and all around, it happens continuously. As you progress through life, you have more boxes into your brain, more things, right? Now you have a relative. Now you have a roommate in school. Now you have these other responsibilities. How do you juggle all those things in your brain and organize it so that you can get to all the things you want to in a timely manner? So let's focus about university level first. So at the university level, there's the typical things that compete for your time and attention, right? So you have your classes you have to go to. Well, that is one extra box in your head that you have to manage. And really is a high priority at this stage of life. Is probably one of the most the highest priority, because if you don't go to class, you know what happens. You probably don't pass the class, and then you don't graduate, then you don't get a job, and so on and so forth. So that tells you that is a very important one that you have to prioritize in your brain. Put it, where it belongs, number one, number two, at the very top, because it's important to you at this stage in your life. And then, of course, and in addition to that, you have exam times that you have to prioritize, finals, and then you have social activities. This is an important part of life and fulfillment. You have to be able to socialize. You have to be able to meet with your friends and do social activities. So that's important, but you have to prioritize it and put it in the right order, in the right sequence. Sometimes you may have to not go to the social if it conflicts with your exam, right? It's a choice you have to make, but most likely you know that you will be able to hang out with your friends at a later time. But your final might only be one time, one shot. And so if you don't make the right decision there, you will find yourself failing the class because of that. Your friends need to be balanced. Even at the university level, you do have family members, you have parents, hopefully you have siblings, or you have close relatives that they also competing for your time. They want to see you, they want to see how you're doing, or you may be living at home with them. That's also another element, another box in our brain to prioritize. Obviously, family is very important, so you move that appropriately where it belongs. You know, family will understand that you have a class and they have an exam, so they might move down to where they once you finish all these priorities, maybe you can come visit us, right? So you move it in the right place. And then you have your hobbies, things you like to do, you know, for fun, for yourself, with your friends, with your family. And those also become part of the mix of things that you need to prioritize. This is a very simple, generic example, but I hope you can see how the concept of sorting things out in your brain and in your day and your schedule apply to you currently in university level. There's many examples that are not here, your SPE volunteering, but you see how things very quickly become important, more important than others, and very quickly how your time gets filled up with things. I didn't put movies here or soccer practice or this, but those things also compete, and the list might be much longer than this, and things you have to sort out. So this is another example, and this example talks about at the professional level. So here's where I'm going to share a little bit more about my personal experience as a professional, because I deal with these things on a daily basis, and I'll tell you how I'm managing time to get through my priorities and my days. But similar to the university level, here are some things that you might encounter in your professional life. And you will have a work schedule similar to a class schedule, so it's very fixed, and it's something that you must do, or you don't get paid, and you're not able to fulfill your financial responsibilities. So that's important. And then within your work schedule, you're going to have multiple projects, one or many projects that you work on with other people. But those projects have deadlines, just like your school projects have deadlines. See, deadlines here are really important because it's tied to decisions the company or your team has to make. So they're not kind of deadline that you want to not take seriously, because that have financial implications. So that's very important. So that's a box that's going to move up in your list of things that if you're not doing your project on time, you're really not being a good employee. You're not being a good engineer. You're not going to progress in your career. If you constantly late on projects, constantly need more time to finish things and cause the company a lot of issues, that's going to be a problem. So that needs to be prioritized. Also, as a professional, you have to network. You have to network with your colleagues, just like in university. That's part of a professional. We have a relationship, have connections with other people, talk, share your professional experience, and obviously have a little bit of time to de-stress or to enjoy yourself with your coworkers. So that's important. That needs to be prioritized. And you mentioned you have coworkers that you may be close or you may not be close, but you have to think that you're not alone in the workspace. You have other people. And then your family never goes away, because you want to be part of a family. Unless you're by yourself, I hope that that's not the case. You have a family there that also wants and loves you and wants you to be spending time with them. Even as a professional, of course, you go home to a family, hopefully, and then you share your life with them on weekends. You spend time with family, then with friends. And then if you own a home, or you may have home projects and things you do in your off time that you're not doing at work. So this is a nice long list of things as a professional that you have to juggle, and you have to sort, and you have to prioritize every single day, every single week, every single month, so that you can be successful in life as a professional, and then you can have a fulfilling careers. In my personal experience, for example, yes, I do have my work schedule as say 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening. So that time is blocked to do work. And then at work, of course, I have my projects, project one, project two, project three, and they all have different deadlines and different priorities. So I'm working on all projects, but I keep an eye on when the projects are due because that's what's important for me to deliver those in time. And so by doing that, I prioritize the ones that maybe are due first, so I can do those and then move on to the next project and so on. So that's my personal approach to project. I work on all of them at the same time, but I know which ones are due first, and I prioritize those so that they can get completed in time. In terms of my networking, I'm very involved with SPE from the introduction. So I do find time to go out to social events and meet people, meet colleagues, and exchange and just talk about life and other things or hobbies. So that's important to me. And then, of course, I have coworkers. Some of them we're very close as friends. So we hang out outside of work. Some of them we just spend a few minutes in the hallway at work to talk about the project or talk about how their careers are doing and so you have these interactions in a daily basis as well. In terms of family, well, I do have my family. I have my wife and children, and so I dedicate time to them. Obviously, probably not between my work time because I'm focused on that, but in between the day or even after work, I go to my family and I spend time with them. I dedicate my time so that they can see that I'm part of the family, play and do things that we do as family, dinners and so on, because that's important to me. And then I have my friends that I meet occasionally and so on. And then I have my projects at home that I want to do and fix and watch TV and so on. So it's a full life, almost like from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you do have lots of responsibilities. But if you remember the picture of everything organized in your brain or everything organized in your notes, you feel like you have a rhythm to your life, to your professional life. I do this first, and then I do this, and then I work on my projects, and then I do this, and then I go home, and then I do this with my family, and then I do this. And then on weekends I do this, and you have a little bit of an organization to your life. And now every now and then things happen when your mother shows up in town, and you have to change things around, but you are flexible and be able to adjust because you have a good sense of what's important, what's next important, and then what's least important in your time sequence. So it's a little bit from my personal experience, but I find that if you're constantly comparing things to see which one is more important to you, you will find that that's how you manage the time better. Because then you find out things that probably don't need to be at the top and you move them at the bottom of your list. Not that they're not important, but they're not important today. They're not important tomorrow. Maybe they're important next week, but this week they're not. So you don't try to stress about those things that they're not really important for today, and you worry about them later. So the third example, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm conscious of time. There's a third an example is on your professional society level. These student chapters, you guys are probably involved, and ladies are involved directly with SPE. As a student chapter, you have a student chapter activities. You have events. You do career development events like this one, which is a great one. But that takes time, right? This is not your university curriculum necessarily, although it's part of it. It's supporting your education. It's not a professional work because it's a volunteering role, but it is something that also needs to be prioritized. So within your SPE involvement as a student or professional in the future, you have things to manage, right? You have your chapter president or chapter leader or committee leader. You do have certain responsibilities you have to meet. If your committee you have committees, you have a committee chair, leader that has to do certain things. So all these things also need to be prioritized. Now you see why it's complicated, right? You have your personal life, you have your work, and then you have your professional society, everything competing for your time. So it's important to prioritize and organize so that you know what's important and when. So today, right now, in this meeting is more important than other things simply because it's on the schedule. You want to learn something, you want to hear the conversation, but you have other things you could be doing with your time. You could be eating at home or sleeping or doing something else. But you decided that this presentation, this talk today is more important to you than all the other things that you have going on and that you can do later. So that's an example of prioritizing your time to focus on what's important at any given time. So you have SPE events like this one, you have your SPE colleagues inside and outside of school, you have your volunteering events that you may be doing in the university, you have your networking events. So those compete with your finals and compete with your family and compete with your future job opportunities. So everything is in competition, but it's not a bad thing. That means you have a fulfilling life that has a lot to give. But if you manage it properly, then you will end up having a successful career in the future. So I encourage you to continue to manage your life the way you're doing it. Hopefully you saw a few things here that you can incorporate, which will make me feel really good to know that I've contributed to your success. But you find that it's a good thing to have a lot of these things. But if you let it stress you out because it's too much to handle, you're not able to organize it, then it will be counterproductive. So what I'm trying to give you here today is the confidence that even though you have a million things going on, you can manage it. You can organize it. You can think what is more important today and tomorrow and next week, and then make those decisions. And then you feel comfortable that you have it under control. Maybe not fully all under control, but it's a sense of you feel comfortable that you have your life in order and you have your priorities in order. So I can be very honest with you and tell you right now, right here, that yeah, after this call, I have a million things to do. But for right now, this call is the most important thing I have to do today because I gave my word and my commitment to the leadership who reach out to me to do this. And I don't see right now anything more important than be here and be with you and talk to you on this conference call. And so that to me is how you prioritize things. You prioritize what's important as a professional. As we are all SPE members, so this is important to me. But this is one of many things that I have for today. But this is really important to me right now. So I'm going to do some closing thoughts. I want to give some time for questions if it's possible. So I'm going to do the final thoughts on this topic. Hopefully you will again learn a few things that you can take with you, that you can improve your time management. Again, it's a simple concept, but it takes effort and it takes dedication and it takes some desire to be successful, desire to be good at time management. If you don't spend any time on that, then you do go through life, just almost by chance. Oh, there's a chance I'm going to be late. There's a chance I'm going to make this. There's just a chance I'm going to miss this. And you don't care about it. Well, you might be the one that's always late to things, always miss deadlines, you don't want to be that person. You want to be the person who's confident that has everything organized. Does that mean that you don't miss things sometimes? Of course not. Sometimes you miss things. You have two important things at the same time, and you just have to choose, and you kind of chose the wrong one, or you unfortunately something happened and you forgot one thing because your alarm didn't go off or something. It's human nature to make mistakes, but because you have a good process, that means you're not going to make too many of those mistakes. Maybe one time your alarm would not go off and you miss the morning meeting, but that's not going to happen every day because you have a system in place to get through your day. So my final closing thoughts are this: number one, manage your time to your personal liking. It's a personal decision. I cannot tell you what to do first and second and third in your day or in your week or in your month. But hopefully I gave you a little bit of the tools to decide for yourself what's more important. You see, we talk a lot about work-life balance for those of us who are working, where you have work, you have school-life balance, right? You have to balance your school and your personal life. What is more important to you? Right? Most people will say my family, my personal is more important because work and school is just something to get me a better life, but my family and my personal is more important. So if that's the case, then the things that the gatherings with your family, the dinners and things, those are going to be important to you, and hopefully there will be no conflict where you don't have to choose. And usually you don't, because it's clear what is more important. Your final is probably always going to be very important, If it conflicts with something personal, you might be able to move things around and so on. So manage your time to your personal liking, because everybody's different. You know, we can't tell you what's more important to you. You have to decide that. Number two, learn how to say no to some things sometimes, especially in the professional world and even in university level. You cannot do everything because time is limited. So we all very, most of us are probably very go-getters. It's called very ambitious, that you want to do everything. Yes, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Please give me more, give me more, give me more. You just have to be careful not to overload your plate, overload your brain with a lot of things, and then struggle to balance it because everything starts competing with each other. So you can learn to say no to a few things, especially if they're not very high priority. So you have to decide what those things are. And so when someone asks you, "Hey, would you like to go to this show at, after school?" You have to decide, well, do I really have to go there? If I have a deadline tomorrow, then you say no, right? So it's okay to say no, and people need to respect your wishes on that, and that's okay. So you have to learn to say no to a few things that are not very important, or that they're not important in that moment. This is the third thing here. Don't be afraid to delegate if needed, and that's work for school or also work for professional. Delegate means sometimes you don't have to do everything yourself. You can ask somebody to do something for you to help you out. In the school level, it's different. Maybe when you have a school project or university project with multiple people, and you're the lead, you don't have to do everything yourself. I mean, you have a team, so learn to delegate. Okay, you do this piece, you do this piece, you do this piece. If everybody does a piece, then we can together meet the deadline. As a leader of SPE student chapter, for example, you probably don't want to be the one doing everything. You're going to delegate the events to the events people, events committee, event group. This is another way where you don't take everything, because then you get overwhelmed and you can't do everything and you start failing. So don't be afraid to delegate. Don't be afraid to say no to certain things. Make sure you have your priorities to manage time accordingly. Of course, I mentioned that life, your family, your personal is important, and then your school or professional life is important. When you have to balance things, when something comes in, so it's conflicting with my personal life and it's conflicting with my work. So which one is more important? And you make those decisions yourself. Of course, don't oversubscribe, overcommit. This means, again, don't take too much that you cannot do, because you have limited time. If you have too many things that have the same deadline, something's not gonna get done, and then you're gonna look bad from not being able to meet the deadline. But that's not because you're not good. It's just you took too many things to do for the same deadline, and now it's really coming back to hurt you, especially at work. Once you start working, we all very ambitious. We all want, very good rewards at work, a very good mark. And so we tend to say, hey, my supervisor, I want more, give me more things. But if you do that too much, you may end up with a situation where you're not delivering, and that's an issue. I talk about the health side. So watch your health signs and your physical and mental health, because with a lot of responsibilities comes stress. Stress is a physical and also could be a mental component. So if you're trying to do too much in a little time, and it start affecting your ability to sleep and ability to relax and ability to have time for yourself, you may find yourself in the situation of having a difficult health, and then that's another issue. And last but not least, know what you want out of each stage of your life. As a student, you probably want to graduate and get that degree. As a professional, you probably want to advance in your career and get better opportunities. So know what you want and why you do the things that you do. And maybe you just want to spend time with your family and maximize your personal life, and that's your goal. Then you make decisions that prioritizes your family and your personal side of things, or at least balance the two a little bit better. So these are just a few thoughts. I know we're against time, so I'm going to stop here and ask if you guys have any questions, comments. Feel free to ask, and I'm open to questions at this point. Thank you.
Mr. Simeon, are you finished yet?
Yes, I am finished with my presentation. I'm open to questions if you have questions.
Okay, if you could please give me a second. Dear students, workers, attendances, anyone who has any kind of questions, you can type it just right below in the chat. Mr. Simeon?
Yes.
Will answer any question that you have in mind.
Can you confirm if I'm still sharing the screen or not? Probably not, no?
Yeah, you're sharing the screen, but not the full screen. Just
okay. I'm just gonna stop sharing so that I can focus on the questions.
Right. My fellow students, any questions? Type it just below in the chat section.
Okay. I see a question that someone is asking if I can share the PowerPoint after this meeting. Absolutely, no. Yes.
Yeah,
if you guys want to. So that's one question.
Cool. The PowerPoint, I suppose, will be in the group chat.
It also is recorded, correct?
Yeah, it's recorded. If anything you have missed, you can just go back into YouTube because the whole session is recorded onto YouTube. Perfect. Mr. Simeon, very glad to have you here today with us, and proud. And we shall see you in some future sessions, if you will.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure
talking to you. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
You're welcome. Anytime. You guys can invite me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simeon. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Dear attendances, if you please, register in the form of attendance right in the chat. The attendance link form is in the chat. I hope you can all register. Thank you, Mr. Simeon. We're glad to have you. Thank you for accepting the invitation. سادة الحضور رجاء يرجى ملء استمارة الحضور اللي موجودة أسفل داخل الشات. رابط الحضور موجود، وكذلك موجود بالمجموعة التابعة ل SBE of جامعة البصرة للطراز. شكرا لكم على حضوركم، شكرا على حسن الاستماع. شكرا.